You know that person who narrates their entire life out loud? Walking through the grocery store muttering, "Okay, need milk. Where's the milk? Oh right, dairy section." Having full conversations with themselves while cooking dinner. Maybe even arguing with themselves about whether they locked the front door. Yeah, that's you, isn't it? And you've probably caught someone staring at you like you've lost it. Welcome. You're about to feel very seen. So here's what society calls talking to yourself like a crazy person, but science calls private speech or self-directed speech. And neuroscientists? They have a completely different take on this. According to research published in the Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology, people who talk to themselves actually perform better on tasks. Dr. Gary Lupyan from the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that self-directed speech helps with focus and cognitive processing. So while your roommate thinks you're unhinged, your brain is literally optimizing itself. Here's the thing. When you verbalize your thoughts, you're not just being weird. You're activating multiple areas of your brain simultaneously. The auditory cortex, the motor cortex for speech, and your prefrontal cortex all light up like a Christmas tree. It's called the feedback loop effect. You're essentially giving your brain a double dose of the same information through different channels. But there's more. Studies show that people who talk themselves through problems solve them 20% faster than people who stay silent. That internal monologue you're having, when you externalize it, you're actually creating distance between yourself and the problem, which leads to better solutions. Wild, right? Society has convinced you that talking to yourself means you're lonely or losing your grip on reality. But what if your best life is one where you're your own best collaborator? What if the most successful people aren't the ones who keep everything internal, but the ones who aren't afraid to process out loud? We've normalized journaling, voice memos, and thinking out loud in meetings, but the second you do it alone in your apartment, suddenly it's concerning? Now here's where we need some nuance. There's a difference between productive self-talk and rumination. Do you talk yourself through tasks, problems, and decisions? Or do you endlessly replay conversations you had 3 years ago, criticizing every word you said? One is self-directed speech that enhances cognitive function. The other is anxiety's greatest hit on repeat. If your self-talk is mostly negative, repetitive, and doesn't move you forward, that's when it might be worth checking in with yourself or a professional. But if you're the person who says, "All right, let's do this," before starting work, who talks themselves through parallel parking, who has to say the recipe steps out loud to remember them, who gives themselves little pep talks in the mirror, you're not weird. You're just someone whose brain works better with auditory processing. You're the person who thinks clearer when thoughts become words. You probably also read out loud sometimes, don't you? You rehearse text messages before sending them? You have full debates with yourself about what to order at restaurants? That's not a bug, it's a feature. Hit subscribe if you think you're this type of person, because I'm breaking down more weird habits that are actually genius next week. Quick question. Do you talk to yourself more when you're stressed or when you're in your element crushing tasks? Drop it in the comments because next week's video about people who need background noise to focus is going to hit even harder. Don't miss it.